Right, everybody, absolutely crazy story today, and I was not going to do any more videos this week because I am absolutely flat out. But this concerns everybody. There's a good chance that your waste has ended up fly tipped in the world's biggest, well, naturally, let's say Europe's biggest ever fly tipping scandal ever, and by a woman. Could be up to 1 million tons of waste that's been illegally dumped. Up to 1 million tons. There's definitely 200,000. Right, so I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story. I'm going to be reading some of it as I go off the screen, so bear with me, because as you all know, I am not the bestest of readers and writers. But cutting through the story, I have read it already. There's a woman in Sweden. She was running a big, massive, large waste enterprise company, skip company, all that lot. And they had a couple of licensed sites. She was called Think Pink. I think that, I mean, there'll be an equivalent Swedish name. They was dealing with all the waste in Sweden from the councils, everybody else. There was also taking waste off other companies, so I presume that's coming from abroad, places like that. There's a lot of pictures of bales that we see in UK ports and stuff like that, and apparently there's a lot of stories on this. There's hundreds and hundreds of stories. I read on one of them that she was importing waste from other countries in Europe. I've read that she was burying hazardous waste. So all the images that you're going to see behind me now in the rest of this video, these are all from her illegal sites, her entering court and stuff like that. So keep an eye out in the background, and this will just show you the sheer scale of everything. And what makes this story so crazy, they say that she's earned 250 million krona, which is, I don't know, she's profited about 25 million at least. That's working on the lower scales. So what the police have had to do is they have a statute of limitations, which is obviously if you commit a crime, they only have a certain amount of time to prosecute you. I don't think we have that in the UK. I don't think we have a statute of limitations on stuff. It's like in America. If you do a certain crime, I don't know, rob a bank and you get away with it for 20 years, you've got away with it, that's it. They're not allowed to go back and get you. We don't have that in the UK, but in a lot of other Europe, well, a lot of countries, I think they have that. So anyway, she is an ex-model. I don't know, some of them say stripper, some of them say escort, stuff, these pages, but you don't know if that's true. But anyway, she went from being a stripper or some sort of porno actress or whatever it was, and she went to start a waste company called Think Pink. If you ask me, she looks like one of them, if you ordered a prostitute to turn up at an hotel room in the middle of the night, she looks like somebody like that. Loads of lip filler in her lips, and the kids ain't got no shoes on to go to school with. You know the type. You know the type. There's plenty of them walking about in this country as well. The fact that she's Swedish don't make no difference, I don't suppose. So what they're saying is the prosecution saying that they identified 21 sites. She was running a lot more, but they didn't have time to prosecute her under the statute of limitations. So basically, they were saying, right, some of these sites are quite old, so we ain't got time to go back and get her for these sites. She was depositing carcinogenic lead, arsenic and mercury. There was a full-blown fire in a nature reserve which burnt for a full solid month, and this was again an unlicensed site. They have similar rules, I think, in Sweden and most of the European Union as we do, so you'll have to be permitted and everything like that. She's been interviewed by the media regarding the nature reserve, and she said that it was within the law. So I don't know if they have exemptions and stuff like we do. I ain't got a clue. So a company went into bankruptcy in 2020. What a surprise. Typical thing in it. The tech, she's took 25 million quid out of the company and then it goes bust. But sometimes when they put these the governments and the Environment Agency in their country put these numbers on waste and stuff. They might say, yeah, you've had 25 million quid or 250 million pounds worth of waste, but they forget that you've still got to move it and all that lot. So she might have not actually anywhere near that. It says that the company dealt in electronic waste, plastic, metal, tyres, all the usual stuff, and the waste was basically unsorted and then just abandoned. They just literally was tipping them at one place, filling up skips and trucks, and then just sending them and tipping them all around the country. You've got to ask yourself why nobody did know about it. I mean, these sites, I mean, I go to them all the time. People fill the site up. And nothing's happened. They've just literally left them. Somebody's just left somebody to crack on with it. And can you imagine having a site like these pictures that you can see here, and somebody owns one of them sites, and the site is left with that much rubbish on it? It'd just break your heart, wouldn't it? It'd break your heart. But I mean, like I said to everybody at the beginning of the video, there's a good chance that some of your waste has gone to this company, because it says that she was also taking waste off other companies and potentially imported waste, because Sweden does import waste for energy and stuff like that. So it's there's a good chance that some of yours might be sat there. There's a council in here that I presume she was working for, and it's called Botkyrka Botkyyrka Council. Anyway, it's just south of Stockholm. They was using this company Think Pink to dispose of the waste, and then she was tipping it on their land and leaving it. How ironic that is. So they've asked for 25 to 30 million pound to clean up of the waste and decontamination of a site. So she's picking it up from the local council, tipping it on council land for free, and then they're going to dispose of it again. Honestly, it's mental, innit? Somebody must have been... How can anybody ignore that? I'll tell you what, in the UK, one thing about the Environment Agency or complaints and stuff like that, if there's a complaint about something serious, our Environment Agency and all that lot, they do get on top of it. Which, as a skip company, you'd think, oh, Environment Agency's on me again. But actually, in the world we live in, it's actually probably better, because if you didn't, everywhere you'd be turning, it'd be piles of waste and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, they can be hard on people, but it's probably better for us all. They're basically saying that this is one of the biggest organised crime situations that they've ever had in the waste industry. Well, I'll tell you now, there'll be a lot of other people who do the frauds and stuff like that in this country, in other countries, and everywhere in between, and there'll be people, 23 million quid they want back off her for clean up. Well, that's now in the scheme of things. I'm not going to get into any of that, because I don't want to end up with a bullet in my head. But it says here that she was running the business with Thomas Nilsson, her ex-husband, but she's dumped him, and apparently he's guilty of doing this crime with her. So I'm not sure if he's done it or she's done it or they've done it together. It doesn't say that, but she's the one that is in the paper. I think, looking at it and reading through it, I think because she's obviously, I think she's a good-looking woman. Maybe she's a good-looking woman. I think that's why they're probably picking on her. Not picking on her, but they've left the husband alone, and they're concentrating more on her because she's been all over, social media and everything else and all that lot. So they're using her as the face of the prosecution. They're looking at the husband as well, but it's her actually in court. I presume her name was on the companies and stuff like that. It says she's recently changed her name to Fabria Venkor. She's one of them, I don't know. Maybe a stage name. Maybe her old name was a stage name, where they were shaking their ass on the stage, and she had a different name. She might be back escorting you boys who are into that. You might want to maybe ring her up and see if you can get around. I don't know how much you might see her on Viva Street or something like that. Come round, you can have a celebrity come round to your house and give you a massage. So the courts, what they're asking for, obviously, will be the money back. I don't know how many millions of fans. Reading here, it says she's got absolutely no money left. She's had to get a public prosecutor. I need to learn to read a bit better. Public prosecutor. So what they're saying is that the actual Swedish government are paying for her trial against taking waste from councils, which they've had to pay for to get rid of again. Then the local council's paying for it to get defence, if you like. And then they are going to give her a fine, which she can't pay. Then they're going to put her in jail at their cost. She hasn't done bad out of this, has she? So, boys, she might have 20 million quid here. So when she gets out of prison or whatever, you maybe want to hit her up on Facebook and see if she'll go out with you for a drink. It says that she will be on trial until May 2025. I presume it's because the Swedish system's slow. Some countries do have quite a slow system, don't they, to get through the courts and stuff like that. But I'll tell you what's going to happen here. It'll just be the same, you know, there's too much noise around it. I'll tell you what happens is, if there's a lot of noise around a case and a lot of, you know, things thrown at somebody, if she's operating 21 legal sites, there's all these pictures from everywhere, there's that much noise, you can guarantee she'll be arrested. Like the two Tate brothers, you know, there's that much noise around the case. They're never getting a not guilty because they won't put so much in the papers and things like that. You know, it's when you hear about stuff a lot, and obviously this being, you know, in the paper, every paper around the world, you know, I think mainly because of how she looks. I think because she's a, you know, a glamorous lady, they're, you know, making something of it. But imagine if this was in the UK, you know, 21 sites, that there's more, but they've prosecuted for 21 individual sites. All of them sites run illegally. All of them sites were rubbish bin left. You know, you imagine that over here. It just would never get to that stage, would it? You know, we get breaches and our permits for small things. You know, and like I've said before, the environment's the environment. I suppose if you're doing pollution there or wherever you're doing it, it's still, you know, it's still affecting the land mass, innit? I don't know if something in a country that far away would affect us, like, but I think we need a worldwide policy. Our environment agency in the UK must be one of the most well-trained, well-set-up, you know, well-educated set of government body, and I bet if they could implement something across the EU, I bet it'd stop a lot of this sort of stuff. You know, at the end of the day, we want to go on holiday and stuff, and might want to go to Switzerland or Sweden or wherever, and you don't want to go there if it's full of rubbish, do you? Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this story. I wasn't going to do a video, but since it's the biggest story in the world, I thought I'd better, you know, comment on it. And I'll see you all soon.